Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Light TV. My name is Esha Kashmiri, and we're here with Miss Iram Shah once again with the continuation of the series that we've been talking about, communicating with children from ages 0 to 10. Last episode, we were here and she was talking about my own experience, and before that we were talking about from ages 0 to 3 and then 3 to 6. Today we're going to talk about ages 6 to 10 and how to effectively communicate with them and how to have them understand what we want from them. So today, Miss Iram Shah, let's start talking about that from ages 6 to 10.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. How is everybody doing? And how are you, Isha?
I'm doing good, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So today, like Isha said, we're going to be talking about 6 to 10, which gets a bit more interesting when it comes to children, and you know how it is at school, more friends, more peer pressure, more competition amongst the children at school minus the parents at home, and not to forget the exposure to the outside world and technology and screen time. So when we talk about a 6-year-old child, so a 6-year-old is old enough to put his or her foot down and say no, to put a tantrum and tell his mother or father, I like this, I do not like that. Now, when we say that a child has started having his or her own contents of words, it's okay. Again, they're growing. They're picking all of this not only from home, but also from the schooling that they're going to, the new friends that they're meeting. And then there's the social separation anxiety is gone, because by now the child is old enough to understand, okay, I've got to get on that bus, I've got to go to school, whether I like it or not. As we spoke yesterday's episode, how your schooling life was and your parents were always there, that Isha, you've got to go get good grades, steady. So coming back to 6-year-olds, there will be a lot of factors that will start affecting the child in terms of, let's evaluate from competition. If you bought your child a brand new handbag and the next thing he sees is another child's got another action figure or a princess bag, your son or daughter is going to start comparing as an individual that, hey, that person's got another bag. Now, again, some children are very, very confident in expressing and being very communicative, and they might come up to your child saying, my father bought this bag from so-and-so. And when we talk about the shy children, they would just quietly sit there and accept it that, okay, my peer has a new bag from so-and-so. Why am I just sitting here with this bag? So it's very important for the parents to explain to their children the value of that bag that is being bought. Number one, the value that your father is out all day or your mother is out all day. Remember, it's husbands and wives working together, not only the husband being the breadwinner here. They bring the importance of how the parents are going out, working, making that money so there is food on the table. You must explain this to your child, because again, like we were told as children growing up ourselves, money doesn't grow on trees. And it's been going on till we're married, and I've got my own children, so I say the same thing again and again, money does not grow on trees. So you've got to be very, very, I wouldn't say harsh, but a bit strict and firm in telling your child the value of that bag. Yes, I understand your friend has a new bag from so-and-so, but I think the bag you bought made us happy and you had a nice experience buying that bag or pencil case or water bottle, or the way it goes, whatever they need. And I feel that as a family we had fun. Daddy was happy with it as well. It's a good quality. You can put your books, take it to school. So you've got to break down that whole communication process in telling the child the reason for having that bag and not having the bag that the peer has.
And when we're talking about comparing, sometimes in school, when children are comparing one another, they then start to create superior and inferior roles, which then leads into bullying. So that's also a big thing in school. We were talking about that a little in the last episode with my own experience. But how do we teach the child, our own children, how to defeat bullying in a way, how to overcome it, and how to effectively talk to the teacher or talk to a guardian in school, how to not let the other children affect how we feel?
So it's again, it comes back to how I asked you in the previous episode, and you said I was confident enough to build my boundaries, just put my foot down, and where it's wrong, where it's a no, I will say that. Because this is how, subhanAllah, your parents taught you that, Isha, if there is a problem, you should not run away from the problem. Instead, fight with that problem, stand up, and then you will see the amount of people coming there to help you as well. So, but again, when we speak about younger children, there's a lot of questions in the child's mind that they can be scared. Of course, they're still going through the whole process, which is absolutely fine. Let's not begin to tell our child, stop being so scared. You're always scared. No, that's where you're building the damage again and again, like I had said in one of the previous episodes. Fear. You are creating fear in your child's mind. And once you create the fear with the child being, let's say, weak, and that you're always scared, you're not confident enough, you've already broken that child's self-esteem. And at this tender age, it is more, the damage is so powerful, it's going to go on for an older and older while that child is trying to get into workforce, getting married, having his or her own children.
Because that will be their foundation.
Absolutely. And because, again, we meet so many people in our lives where we say, how did you learn to be so patient? How do you learn to be so funny? How do you learn to be so creative and understanding? And what do we keep saying? Oh, because my mother and father would do that to me. So you've always got the generator at the background in your subconscious mind that, yes, I was told, I was given this information from an early age. So for me, it grows on with me, and I will carry that with my other friends or family and even people at the workforce. So for bullying, the major concept we need to create is every single day, like we spoke in the previous episode, we need to communicate. We need to ask our children, how was your day at school? What did you do at school? If you realize, now the telltale signs, if your child is being bullied or if there's a slight difference in your child's behavior, please do not ignore it. Because sometimes, yes, there could be a problem with your child, tummy ache or just, feeling lethargic and tired. It's very normal. But psychologically, sometimes our child does give us those little hints that there is a problem deep within. And the only way we can find out is through communication. So if you feel that your child is not sleeping the way him or her, their routine was, that rings a bell. The child is not eating the way he or her would with you as a family or even alone with the mother or the father. Again, that's another warning sign.
Picking up on the small gestures.
Absolutely. And you need to do this, because if you let that ignored, you've already created this barrier that your child will say, okay, if I'm being bullied, I will accept it. This is how my childhood is. This is what school means. This is what peer pressure is. So I will accept this as the new normal. And we must not at any cost allow that to happen. So communication is the key.
And as you said, they'll accept it as their new normal. In turn, their emotions, and then they will start becoming more aggressive, more agitated, irritated, more quicker. It'll be a more quick change for them. So definitely we do need to start picking up on the small gestures that they're changing. If they're talking less at home, talk to your child, create that bond with them, create that trust to allow them to speak freely in the household.
Absolutely.
So yeah, definitely. And as you said, fear. So let's look at that a little more, just not in school, everywhere, in the household. How do we, as parents or as guardians, not allow the fear to begin? How do we allow the child to speak freely? What are some changes that we could do as parents?
Well, as parents and as well as siblings.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people where they do not have just one child to deal with. They've got a whole, mashallah, big tribe to go through, right? So, fear, like we said, you develop fear since you're a baby, since you're born. Because the baby, again, like how we spoke about it, they're so much intelligent, they pick the waves, the sounds, the decibels going on in the ears. So fear, how does fear begin? It is your reaction to the problem. It's not the child who's going to be smart enough to tell you, Mum, it's okay if you broke a table. No, the child's going to look at you, going to look at your face, going to read your body language.
How you react.
Absolutely. So the main culprit for building that fear is how we react. And subhanAllah, a lot of us women, we do tend to get very stressed in situations where we do let the loud shouting out, we let the sigh, we let the, oh my goodness, Allah, my life is over because my vase broke or my plate broke or I lost my spoon, you know. The list goes on. But here, if we treat the problem with confidence and we take a deep breath and we tell ourselves, okay, Allah, there's a problem, I am stressed out, but please help me go through this. So it's like you're loving yourself in order to help your child. So that's the first thing you've got to do. You've got to calm down, focus. This is a problem. Is it fixable?
Right.
Is it doable? Is it possible? Of course it is. I mean, if something breaks, you can just go back, pick it up from another shop, isn't it? Or, for example, astaghfirullah, a child gets hurt, they've sliced their finger, you sliced your finger, anything. Quietly, calmly, go get a bandage. You do know first aid basics. When we bleed, what do? We put on a spray, we put on a bandage, and that's it. Then you leave it to tawakkul. Allah help us heal our wounds. But do not create that barrier where you've got to scream, you've got to shout, you're already stressed, you're letting all of that anger out, that, oh my goodness, why? So this is where the child is going to pick that fear from. And it's absolutely going to sink in. And that child is not going to forget that, because again, the brain, subhanAllah, it is so powerful. It is so powerful. I'm sure you must be remembering some stories you did when you were 4, and your mother might be like, I don't remember, but hey, how do you remember that?
Right.
Because your brain is so powerful at that age. And then again, the communication level you had with your parents, of course it's going to stay in your mind for the rest of your life.
Right. So yeah, definitely, I like how you said we all experience things differently. So the mother might see me breaking the vase, like when your daughter broke your vase.
Yes.
You saw that differently than how she broke it. You saw it as this big thing because it was one of your favorite vases. So definitely how you guys react to things does create a big impact on the child, because to them it was some small thing that was broken, but how you react is how they will then treat it in their future lives, for sure. And if we're going back to just being at home, so we're after they come home from school, when they come home, how do we keep them interacting with us? Because I know we can just push them off to the gadgets and TVs, because we talked about that a lot.
Yes.
So we talked about screen time as well. So what are some good things that we could monitor? Monitoring is a big thing. So how do we do that? What should we monitor? And
well, firstly, as soon as they come back from school, yes, the whole, the food has to be ready, the kids have to be fed. Let them chill out, let them be themselves, but do not hand over those gadgets. Well, as the child grows older, yes, the child will ask for me time, some video games, some PS or Xbox, Nintendo. There's so many now, because back in our days, I just had Sega. Right. I don't even think you would know what Sega is. There we go.
I know what Nintendo 64, but yeah.
So you've got to monitor. You've got to see the content your child is picking, because now if you see how the world is, it is so easy to download
Yes.
anything, to buy anything. Again, like how we spoke about the child using emotional blackmail, that, oh, my dad will buy me a video game if I saw Bush shed a few tears, if I sit away from the table and not eat my dinner. This is how you're building this chain of unfortunate events where the child will be like, I will have it my way. Oh, I've just got to do this to the old man. So you're breaking that respect, you're breaking that that bond, because you're not there to monitor. So the child feels, I have so much independence.
Yeah.
I don't need to listen to them. I don't need to look at my siblings. I don't need to look at anyone. I've got me, myself, and I, and my friends, where I can be the cool kid in town, where I've got the games. I've seen so many children, Esha, they are playing games which is way older. The age is not appropriate. And when I ask the mothers or the fathers, how do you know what game this is? Yeah, it's just car racing, or it's just they've got to go build a house or something.
Right.
But no, you've got to look into the content. You've got to see if it's a violent game. And all games nowadays, they have a label.
Right.
PG-13,
Yeah.
18 plus
TV7,
adults.
yeah.
Absolutely.
MA, mature.
So you've got to look into that. Just buying a game so your child can have his or her own me time while you can have your own peace and quiet. No, please stop doing that. Yes, you can allow them to play. Like we said, 1 hour a day is absolutely acceptable. Or unless you've got guests in the house, you do need to attend to them. And then letting the child play along with his or her tablet or gadget, or watching a cartoon on television, it's acceptable, because it's not an everyday thing. But you've got to see the content, because now if you look at the world of content, it is scary.
Yes.
It is abusive. It is unfit for even an adult. I mean, I minus the blood, you know. I see all of those gory video games, and it literally makes me want to sit down and think that, oh my goodness, what is going on here?
Right.
There is just so much creativity going on in the wrong way. But again, there is also positive creativity, where there are nice programs for children. There are age-appropriate channels for our children, where you know that I know this character. Because in this age, again, we have lots of children who start building character following. So a lot of them want to buy that character's merch. They want to be like that character. They want to dress like that character. So always pick and choose a character after you've studied that character. For example, Mickey and Minnie Mouse. Now, it's a very old and famous character, but when you watch the cartoon, you're sure of it. There's no bad language.
Right.
The most they do is run around with their dog, with their other friends, and they're looking for little items in their house or village where they live. So you've got this sense of satisfaction and ease that, okay, my child's got his or her time out, but what the content is coming on the television or the iPad or the telephone, at least it's pure. So please, let's not just depend on these violent video games. Yes, if your child is 18 plus and they want to play XYZ, okay, because by then they know.
They understand that that's just in the game.
Absolutely. They're able to differentiate the real world and the artificial world. So this is very, very important.
Yes, I definitely agree. And what we can also look at is when the child is buying the video game, how you mentioned, and sometimes the parent will just say, yes, grab whatever game you want. No, that's when we have to start looking, because once it's already in the house, yes, you can take it away, but just stop it from the beginning. Don't let them buy it at all. If the child is throwing a tantrum in the store, saying, no, I want this game, I'm not leaving here till I get this one, that's when we have to put our foot down in the correct manner. So definitely, and we've talked about how to do that, so that's good, for sure. And when we also talk about these video games or just having things, we can also look at how they take it in school, because school kids are talking about it in school. I have this game, I have that game, and that comes down to peer pressure. How the other students want to be like one another. So that's a big issue that we face in the society, peer pressure. So how do we overcome that, and what are some issues in peer pressure that we might see as a parent, as a child growing up?
Peer pressure, again, it is very, very powerful. It is very strong. It absolutely changes the whole mindset of your child. And especially if the child is coming from a weak communication household, it's just going to eat that child up, which makes it very, very hard to pull that child back into that loving comfort and that bubble that you are providing it to him or her. So, if, for example, in peer pressure, let's take a story of my own daughter. She's only 9.5 years old, but she's been after a phone for the past 3 years.
All the kids.
All kids, they think it's cool, they think it's nice, they think if mommy and daddy can use WhatsApp, we're allowed to as well. But no, this is where you've got to make them understand, if mommy and daddy are messaging each other, it's because this is how mommy and daddy have to communicate. Because daddy's at office, he cannot 24 hours pick his phone and say, Assalamu alaikum, how are you? How is the kids? No. Again, they're going through a workforce, they're going through a team, they've got stress outside. So you've got to use that gadget. And again, we don't just make up stories for our children to listen to and be like, okay, because my mum said she's old enough to use WhatsApp. No, you've got to tell your child the reason behind every single question and answer that child is asking you. Because remember, you are the child's dictionary, your Wikipedia, your Google, your everything for your child right now.
Everything you say is the word.
Absolutely. At times I get so tired saying so many questions and answers for my son and daughter. At times I feel like saying, Ya Rab, please make my children stop talking, because I'm tired. But then I go back to remembering that, okay, deep breath, we've got to get through this. Because my child is in a mood, the brain is active and finding out more and more information. So I must be available to answer all of his or her concerns. So whenever she would ask me for the mobile phone, she would say, but XYZ have a phone. I would say, I understand, but you are too young for a phone. To which again she would say, but they are young too. Then I would say, it's okay, maybe their parents have allowed this for whatever personal reasons. But knowing you and knowing your father and your little brother at home, I apologize, this will not happen till you're a bit older. End of topic. This is how you explain the information. This is how you end the subject without your child feeling offended or being all defensive that, oh, why? Why? Again, subhanAllah, communication, the words coming out of our mouth, the confidence in our words. And whenever you do have to explain things to your children, have a positive attitude. Don't just be like, oh, you can't just get it because you're young.
Don't just push them off.
And you've got this look on your face. Because a child will say, my mom just says that. And when that child goes to school, that child won't be able to answer to his peer when they ask him or her, so why can't you get a phone? The child just says, oh, because my mom said you can't, that's it. Then the bullying begins.
There you go. That's what I was going to say.
You're a baby. Oh, your mom doesn't trust you. Oh, forget it. Your mom's not cool enough. You know, there's so many stories children make. So when your child has a proper definition, the reason, that child can pick those answers, forward the message. And that's it.
Yes. That actually goes into our next topic, peer pressure, because of course peer pressure continues and gets even greater when you get older into the preteens, teenagers, and young adults. So inshallah we can talk about that next session, next episode, when we talk about middle school age. So inshallah we can talk about that, and that'll be all for this episode today. So I just want to make sure everyone to comment, like, and subscribe the video down below. The Light TV. And my name is Esha Kashmiri, and this is Miss Iram Shah.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Thank you, Esha. Khuda Hafiz, everybody, from us.
Hafiz.